a little convention here.
You're glowing.
Yeah, see, like that. All right. What's your schedule? You got 10 minutes or 15?
I got a hard stop at noon, but I'm good.
At noon?
Yeah.
What we were thinking of doing was John actually was going to ask you 2 or 3 questions to sort of get the Q&A going. Is that right?
Sure.
And then we'll open it up to people. And
all right.
Yeah, when that clock hits noon.
All right.
Put your gun on and call it a day.
Fantastic. Prime Minister's questions. Let's go.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
only limitation is you got to stay on that spot there.
Okay.
There's a photo. You want a chair?
I'm good.
Okay. John, John should go.
Great. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for making it with us today. We're really happy to have you here, and we have a list of questions, and we're not going to be able to get to all of them, and we're going to let you forego any opening remarks that you may have had planned,
Okay.
as long as you want to invite people to your campaign re-election kickoff party in March or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah, sure.
So we've got a couple of these questions that we want to bring in front of the group, and then I have a list that we'll let you take away, and we'll get a group together with your office at some later date
Sure.
and discuss the rest of those, okay? So the first thing we'd like to ask you today is the public is being told that $100 million needs to be cut from our school system budget, one way or the other. Mr. Winters, the Safe Routes to School Program Coordinator for the county, estimates that roughly $3.5 million could be saved by a program to get kids who live within 1.5 miles of that school to walk or ride bikes to school. We know that education is one of your top 3 priorities as mayor. So how can CABA best work with your staff and CMS to institute a program along the lines that Dick Winters envisions? Is there a person on your staff we can contact to make this happen?
Kevin Monroe is the appropriate contact on my staff. His number is 704-336-4332. We're going to have to get creative on our school system. There's no question about it. One of the issues that we're going to be talking about on the city council this spring is going to be school resource officers and crossing guards. In the last budget, the council approved eliminating the line item from our budget, shifting that cost onto the school system. It's almost $3 million of cost that would be added to the school budget at a time when the school system is having to cut $100 million. It doesn't add up. And so I held my nose on that last year because we were floating that expense this year, so there's no change. We're actually providing that service this year. Because I had other issues with the libraries and other things that we were trying to deal with back then. But as we approach this budget, I am going to be very insistent that the council replace that money for school resource officers going forward, because I think it's a critical need. But on something like what you're talking about in terms of saving some of the transportation expenses by being creative and looking at walking to school and bike riding to school, I think it's a great idea, and we look forward to working with you to see what we can do.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. The next question we have is regarding the light rail blue line extension. It seems that the budget there has been cut by over $100 million. But right now, a stakeholder committee is working with city staff and consultants to plan a bikeway along the corridor. Where will the money come from for such a bikeway? Which could easily cost several $1 million, especially if things like bridges were to be built for bicycle connectivity and safety reasons. Paris Boulevard at North Trident is an example where a bridge structure may be needed. How hard do you pledge to work to get such funds?
Good question. So I'm going to give you guys and ladies a lot more than you want to know on light rail, but I want you to, my goal in answering this question is for you to not only understand the bottom line answer, but to understand some of the dynamics involved with this, because it's very different today than it's been in the past. The build out for the Blue Line extension includes some work that will go right down the middle of North Tryon Street. And we have a plan to build a complete street around the Blue Line extension. In other words, you have the rail moving down the middle of the road, you have automobile traffic, you have bike lanes, you have sidewalks, and you have trees that would all be integrated into the design. As we've had to look at how the Blue Line extension gets built, what's become clear is that the sales tax revenues are back to 2004 levels now. We've gone back in terms of how much money we're generating in the sales tax revenue. And so that, coupled with the fact that we are not projecting as much money for the project going forward, has meant that we've tried to do some value engineering of the project. That has included cutting off the line at UNC Charlotte as opposed to getting closer to 485, which takes almost $100 million off the project, and taking some of the infrastructure dollars that would have been used to build the complete street framework out of the Blue Line extension budget. Now, the goal for us is not to have a Blue Line extension that doesn't meet our complete street design. And so we have money in the city budget that's not CAT's money, but it's city property tax dollar money that we were already planning to use for infrastructure design along the Blue Line extension. So we would take money that, might have paid for, I don't know, a gutter improvement or something along North Tryon that would be associated with the extension, and use that money to build a complete street plan. I think it's a number about $13 million that would be added to the sales tax dollars to be able to provide that. You have my commitment to work to get that money in there. But let me add another layer to this. When the South Corridor line was built, we had a much different environment in Washington that used earmarks to pay for the design of our transit lines. And once you got to a certain point in design, you could then apply to the FTA for a grant to build your system, and they would give you about half of the money it would cost to build a line like the South Corridor line. You may have read that Congress is eliminating earmarks. And we are, if this were football, I would say we're at the 1 yard line with the Blue Line extension in terms of the design process. We are just about done with the design. We need $40 more million to get the earmark, to get the project to a point where we can get the grant. Last year, we applied for $40 million to Congress. We were told initially we'd gotten $33.7 million of an earmark. And then we got a call within 24 hours saying that $33.7 million was really 3.7, that they had made a mistake. So then we said, well, what are we going to do? So then we went back and lobbied some more. The number got to $11 million by November, and then the appropriation bill died in the last Congress. So we're still $40 million away from getting to a point where we can really have a good case to get in the president's budget for a full funding grant agreement. Now, I'm saying all this in the context of this because the city, in my worldview, would put money in to get this complete street built. But what may make the most sense in terms of getting the line built ultimately is for the city to find the resources to get that design work done as well. So instead of $13 million, we may be talking about additional money on top of that to go ahead and get the project designed so that we can get in the president's budget and get the project moving. And maybe FTA would reimburse us what we put in to get the design later on the back end of it. But my commitment to that project is very, very strong. And I'm going to do everything I can to get the project moved forward. If we lose time on this project, every year it gets delayed is $30 million. So if we spend $40 million today to get the project going to avoid a $30 million delay for every year it gets delayed, we actually save ourselves some money So I'm gonna be fighting to get that line built, for sure, and to get it built right with a complete street.
Great.
That's more explanation than you wanted, but I want you to have it.